So we think the numbers will be good in 3Q.
What?
That's right, folks. Gordon Johnson said that Tesla Q3 numbers are going to look good. See, he is right. So let's see what else he's right about.
Gordon, good morning to you. We know Tesla has had trouble with deliveries in the past, but what do these numbers tell you about where the company's at?
Yeah, I think when you look at the numbers, the analysis is much different than I think what the media and the sell side is putting out. And let me explain. So you have to look at the 3Q numbers in total, not the September numbers, which is what a lot of people are looking at. For instance, in October, their sales in China will probably be down anywhere from 50 to 70%. So what happened in 3Q? Well, in 3Q, Tesla lost about 150 basis points of NEV share in China. They lost about 50 basis points of BEV share in China. And for the first time since Tesla's Shanghai factory was up and running, BYD outsold Tesla in battery electric vehicle cars. BYD, let me look at my numbers, sold about 92,000 electric cars in 3Q. Tesla sold about 73,000. So Tesla's market share is declining in China.
So Gordon Johnson is right about two things here. First is the fact that Tesla's China sales will decline 50 to 70% from September to October. He's right. The reason being is because the first month of every quarter, Tesla focuses on exporting all their vehicles because it takes longer to get them, especially with the cargo ships and how things are transporting these days and slowed down. They will focus on that first. So the first month of every quarter, their export numbers are high, but their local deliveries are going to be low. So he's right, it will decline. However, the reason they do that is for what I just explained. So then when you get to the second month, which will be November, it'll be a little bit less. So, you'll have more exports than local deliveries, but that number will be getting closer. And then December will roll around and they will explode with deliveries. So overall, a quarter will still be super strong compared to last year. They're still up well over 100%. And the second thing he's right about is the fact that Tesla is losing market share in China. Absolutely. And when you're looking at EVs alone, the market share in the EV market, yes, they're losing market share. But take a look at their overall vehicle transportation market share. You look at a global market share or just the market share in China based off of all total vehicles, and their market share is growing, not shrinking. Unfortunately, Gordon does not see this. For those of you who don't know, Gordon is affiliated through his family with GM. And so he has this background that is heavily ingrained with GM, legacy automakers, ICE vehicles. So, not to say that skews his vision at all, but that probably plays a pretty strong factor in this, and the fact that he is so anti-Tesla, and I just don't get the guy. I don't understand it. But yes, when you're looking at the market, it is not just an EV market that you're losing share in. Again, you can have 25% of an EV market, but when it's growing from 1 trillion to 4 trillion, you're still growing your business and your overall market share.
And that's despite the fact that they introduced the Model Y SR Plus, which was 20% lower than the Model Y available in China before 3Q. So they had a new model in China. Their market share fell, and they sold roughly 11,000 more cars 2Q to 3Q, and versus 1Q, they sold about 3,000 to 4,000 more cars in China. So the point is, when you take a step back and you consider their market share is falling, also consider when they launched the Model 3 in the first quarter of 2020, the sales of that car over 3 quarters versus the Model Y in the first quarter of 2021, the Model Y sales are down 50% versus the Model 3 sales. So it looks like the actual demand for Tesla's cars in China is imploding. So I think that's a key point to look at. Market share loss, BYD taking over as the BEV share leader and selling a total amount leader in China, and their growth slowing in China. So I think the numbers are far less optimistic than people are painting.
Really fascinating stuff. What do you make of what's happening in China in general? Not necessarily in terms of the electric vehicle sales, but We're seeing China, the government, cracking down on industries across the board, not just tech, but also a company which tutors kids. Are you concerned at all that perhaps they are going to crack down on Tesla or some of the automakers?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the auto sales in China, they were down roughly 16% in the third quarter.
So now he's saying that overall vehicle sales in China are down 16% in the quarter. Keeping in mind that ICE vehicles, legacy automakers, have seen a decline of 30% of vehicle sales. So if there's an average of 30% vehicle sale loss in the quarter for legacy automakers, but only a 16% loss of vehicle sales in China overall, who do you think is making up that other 14%? Probably EVs. And if you look at all the EV makers, Tesla sales up significantly. NIO sales up significantly. BYD, as he mentioned, sales are up significantly. Li Auto, XPeng, all of those makers have all seen extreme growth in their sales. So as you can see, EVs are starting to overcome the automobile maker sector, and they're starting to grow and take away that market share from legacy auto.
Keep in mind, right? You probably won't even believe this statistic. In 3Q, Tesla was just 1.5% of China's total auto sales, and they're only 11% roughly of their battery electric vehicle sales. BYD is sitting at 14%, so they don't lead in China.
Okay, so he pointed out a good fact here. Tesla is only 1.5% of overall auto sales in China. And if you break out the sectors as EVs separately, they're 11%. Yes, behind BYD by 3%. BYD at 14%. However, 1.5%. Tesla only has 1.5%, and they're growing while legacy auto is shrinking. If Tesla grows their business by 10x, that will be significant. That means that next year on the quarter would be 560,000 vehicles for a quarter. Think about it. That's just making 10% of auto sales in China. That is totally doable, and Tesla is looking to get to be 20%. Just do the math.
But taking a step back, again, we want to remind everybody, again, Tesla had a brand new model in China, and the Model Y SR Plus, 20% lower price than the other Model Ys prior to them launching that model in 3Q, and they lost market share. BYD surpassed them in BEV sales. These are things that nobody who's looking at these numbers are talking about. Everybody who looks at Tesla always wants to paint a positive picture. So people looked at the September number. They didn't look at the prior 2 months, which were horrible, and they talked about that. But if you look again at the 3Q number, it's not great. And now in 2022, with no new models coming, there's no new Tesla models coming. You have the Mercedes EQC line coming in China. You have the Audi built in China cars coming. You have Ford coming. You have BYD ramping new models. NIO, Li Auto, XPeng ramping new models. So no new models from Tesla, significantly more competition. Clearly, there's been a continued negative press against Tesla. We think the outlook for Tesla in China is quite grim.
And once again, Gordon is right. Coming from an uneducated mind and not understanding how Tesla runs its business in China, you can definitely see that they had 2 terrible months in this quarter as far as China sales go. Because, you were only running, 5,000 to 6,000 vehicles sold in China in July. It was really horrible. But once you realize that they do that on purpose, you understand that it's totally normal.
However, on the positive side, Elon Musk said he's going to sell some shares this quarter, 4Q. So we think their 3Q numbers, given some of the accounting shenanigans, in our opinion, that Tesla has implemented, we think the 3Q numbers are going to be great. And if you look at the street numbers, you look at what the street is modeling for Tesla, despite Tesla selling 20,000 more cars in the street expected, which is roughly $1 billion more in revenue, street numbers have only went up by roughly 420 million. There's actually an analyst out there projecting Tesla's revenues are going to fall quarter over quarter in 3Q. So we think the street it's sandbagging. So we think the numbers will be good in 3Q.
What?
One of my favorite things about Gordon, and anybody who's lived through life, who understands dealing with people who need to justify their asinine thoughts, will give a little background story as to what they've made up in their own mind to justify why somebody's going to do well. So he is saying, and he's right, Tesla's third quarter numbers are going to look great. But he's saying it's because, they're running shenanigans. What shenanigans? I mean, like, all these people have to do, all these companies have to file with the SEC and run. I'm not sure what shenanigans he's talking about. But, he's trying to make up all of this BS to justify why their numbers are going to look good. But it's, it's all fluff and it's not real. I'm interested to see what he thinks their shenanigans are.
What are the accounting shenanigans? Are you referring to using crypto kind of to balance the books? What are you referring to?
So Tesla effectively reports a lot of the basically repairs as quote unquote goodwill. So they're not reporting those repairs as actual warranty expense, which boosts their gross margins. So that's one of the many things that they do, we believe, to effectively, in our opinion, artificially boost their gross margin.
Please, I beg of you, please share in the comments below what in the F he is talking about. I mean, I've heard, people getting notifications that they need to get certain things repaired on the car. There's no charge for stuff. That's cool. Like, as a consumer, if I owned a Tesla and I was like, hey, I have to get battery changed in my car, just a small battery, and it's going to cost me nothing. Sweet, cool, no big deal. But when he says that they're running it through warranty and back end stuff, and that's boosting their sales, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because I honestly don't know. If you are actually knowledgeable about this, please share it down below. All I know is that he clearly does not know how to explain it well himself because he stutters his way through it. So it leads me to believe that he's just a bunch of hooey. But if you know for sure, please share it in the comments below.
There's a number of other accounting issues they do. For instance, when they launched their Shanghai facility in China, their operating expenses actually went down. We've never seen a company ramp a plant and their expenses go down. What we think is happening is they're capitalizing a lot of those expenses on the balance sheet. Thus, they're not reporting those expenses in the income statement, thus artificially, in our opinion, boosting their margins higher.
Hold up a second here. So he's saying that no company in the history of the world has ever actually had operating expenses come down when ramping up production. So are you telling me that it's because nobody actually has? Or is it because that Tesla is just so efficient at running their business that they can actually do that they foresaw and took care of all their expenses up front and then focused on being more cost effective going forward, which is why you see their margins going up, which is exactly what Elon said he was focused on.
There's a whole litany of other issues and dynamics we think they apply, but we think those are some of the key functions that Tesla uses to, in our opinion, artificially boost its margins.
Fascinating stuff.
I just love how you can hear in her voice how she's like, why do I have to interview this moron? What kind of crap is he talking about? Oh, she must just be laughing inside about this.
Look, you didn't mention Lucid Motors because you mentioned a bunch of competitors. You didn't mention Lucid. I'm curious, who do you think, which is the player that's right now trying to develop electric vehicles or maybe has electric vehicles that you think is going to be the biggest competitor for Tesla here in the U.S.?
Yeah, so let me be clear. The quote-unquote legacy/dinosaur automakers we think will dominate electric vehicles.
Ah, yes, and Gordon's legacy connections bleeding through here. The legacy dinosaur automakers are going to dominate? I don't know, how are the dinosaurs doing these days? Or are humans here now? Pretty sure the EV meteor is coming down and it's gonna take out those dinosaur automakers and leave behind just the pure EV plays. And if anything, those dinosaur automakers will be left with is a shell of their former selves, like turtles and crocodiles.
Keep in mind, right? Tesla sold 20,000 more cars than people expected. If Ford or General Motors or VW, who sells millions of cars a year, did that, it would be
what, Gordon? It would be a blip on the radar? Yeah, but when those legacy automakers are dropping 30% in a quarter, that's noticeable. And it's noticeable when they're dipping 30% and the EV companies are scooping up a big chunk of that. So anyway, Gordon goes on to ramble for some lunacy for a little while longer. I cut it off after that. Let me know what you think down below. I know many Tesla fanatics are just laughing at Gordon Johnson, but maybe some of you in there agree with him. And I'm totally open to suggestions. I'm not just pushing everything Tesla. I'm open. I'm definitely open ears to whatever anybody else has to say. And please share in the comments below what you think. If you think Gordon is hilarious, if he's honest, if you think he has any ties with GM and how that factors into his decision making, please share below. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and like this video, and I will see you guys later.